Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion here at the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas. We are celebrating Black History Month, and we're honoring the African American judges here at the court. We are beginning a series called Journey to Justice, Voices from the Bench. So please enjoy the wisdom and words of our Honorable Judge, Stephen L. McIntosh.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so we're celebrating Black History Month, and we're really interested on how your journey, right, to getting to where you are today. But I would like to step back, to the beginning. You were born, you say in South Carolina?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina.
Yes.
And so your formative years were there?
No, my father was in the military.
Okay.
So born at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Okay.
We moved around quite a bit when I was younger, and then resettled in Columbia when I was in the third grade.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so third grade there, well, how'd you get here in nice, warm Columbus, Ohio?
Well, I went to South Carolina State University,
Okay.
which is a HBCU, and they had a good connection with the graduate program at Ohio State.
Oh.
And so when I was applying for law schools, Ohio State had the best financial package of any of the other schools that I was accepted in. And so I figured that I could do 3 years in the cold of Ohio and make it back to South Carolina.
Right. Okay, so you made it through college, right, to get your law degree, but you stayed. What kept you here?
Well, I met my wife my third year of law school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, her first year of medical school. Then got a job and a wife, and 40 years plus, still here.
Well, very good, very good. Well, that's a feat in itself. Being together for that long, and I'm sure she was right beside you through you say law school and all that, and all the
My last year of law school, and
Yeah.
then obviously practicing or studying for the bar.
Okay, so what made you take that jump as far as even just to go into law school out of college? What was your impetus on making that leap?
There was not any kind of grand scheme on my part. A lot of folks will tell you early on what they wanted to be when they grew up. Well, like a lot of young men, I wanted to be a football player.
Okay.
But obviously, looking at my size, that just wasn't going to happen. And the reason I ended up in law school was because the major that I selected in undergrad was political science. It had an administrative track or a pre-law track, and I decided on the pre-law track, even though at the time I didn't even know if I wanted to practice law, but I just thought a law degree would be something that would make me more marketable.
Okay.
And so I'm fortunate enough to make good grades while in school, and applied to law school and got into Ohio State.
Wow. So was there that person or something that you says I want to be like him or her, or a family member saying, you know what, I think you should be a lawyer? Was there that piece?
No. I knew very little about the law. I didn't even know any attorneys growing up as well. So it wasn't like there was a person or an individual that I at least had a chance to kind of see what the profession looked like, what it was that they were doing. So it really was, like I said, there was no grand plan whatsoever. And the plan was go to law school and then figure out what you want to do after that.
Okay.
Now, I will say that while in undergrad, we did have a couple of programs in which attorneys came and spoke, kind of explaining what the practice of law looked like for them. And that was educational, but that still didn't convince me that, once I get my law degree, that I was going to put up a shingle or practice.
Okay. So let me ask you this then, because I've had conversations with my father, who was a longtime lawyer here, and the hurdles that he had to go through and or jump through to be able to be where he is. Did you find hurdles either placed in front of you or that you had to go around as an African American male here in Columbus to make it to where you are?
Well, I think first of all, it was persons like your father that began to pave the way for folks like me. But I think the biggest obstacle that many of us as African Americans faced, at least around the time when I was graduating from law school, was that there was not a sort of legitimate pipeline to get into the majority firms. I think at the time that I graduated from law school, you could count the number of African Americans working in majority law firms maybe on one or two hands. No more than, and we're not even talking about partners at this point in time. We're just talking about working as associates in firms like that, which is why a lot of folks, African Americans, put up their own shingles to practice because those are, whether you selected either to go into government work, but if you wanted to get out there and practice, many times it was up to them putting up their own shingles to do the things that they wanted to do because the opportunities in the firms just weren't there for them. I mean, it's increased tremendously so since then, but I can't think of one person of color in my law school class that upon graduation had offers from any majority firms.
Okay. So I want to just change gears just a little bit. Doing the work that you're doing and being a judge, and I you look through your resume and you have a long resume of all the things that you've been awards and things that you've done, and so well-rounded. But how do you, when we look at those who are coming in front of you and what they're going through in their life at that time, how do you keep that positive spirit, right, to continue doing what you're doing, in front of, these people who have gone through so much? How do you keep that positive spirit and say this is what I'm made to do?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've always said about being a judge is that it gives you an opportunity each and every day to make a difference in someone's life. And one of the things that really struck me the most when I got on the bench was just the needs of the individuals that come before me. Many of them just lack basic life skills. And so being on the bench gives me that opportunity. Obviously, I don't change persons' lives every day, but the opportunity is there. And that's not something that you get in a lot of jobs. Being able to hopefully provide some guidance, provide some resources, direct folks towards things that can help them survive. So, our goal is hopefully giving people the tools that they need so they stay out of the criminal justice system, as opposed to just either punishing them for the crimes that they've committed or essentially placing them back out in the community and saying, good luck, sin no more. So I'm very pleased with the fact that at least we have some resources to work with folks to give them the tools that they need to hopefully, deal with their drug addiction, deal with their lack of education, the lack of, social skills, because, so many of them are here because they don't have skills just to communicate. And what should be a conversation ends up being a fight or ends up being something else that gets them into the system. And so every day I have an opportunity to take a look at someone, hopefully recognize some of the needs that they have, and then look at the resources that we have that maybe can address those needs.
Yeah. Well, you speak to a good point there of something that you do that maybe others don't realize that you do, not only from the bench, but when you're off the bench with the program that you kind of head up, which is Ties. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, I mean, to no one's surprise, the vast majority of folks that we deal with here in the criminal justice system have either mental health issues or substance abuse issues. And so what I'm so proud of is the fact that the criminal justice system has recognized the need to have specialty dockets where you can have courts where judges can spend more time. So with ties, persons that are in the first phase of the program, I get a chance to see them every week. And I think it's something positive for them when they see a judge there every week, encouraging them when they're doing well, hopefully giving them some direction when they're not doing well. But it's the intensive nature of the drug court that I think is what allows it to work. Because again, you can't take someone and just say, look, you need to go into a drug treatment program, and once you successfully complete the program, you're fine. Well, that person still needs to figure out ways to get a job. That person still may need to figure out ways to get custody of their children back. And we spend enough time with them that in many situations we're able to give them some of the resources or the tools that they need to survive. So not only have they been able to overcome their addiction, but they've been working for a significant period of time so that maybe now they can sustain themselves economically as well. And so it's the fact that we have these tools and resources to help them not just with their addiction, excuse me, but with their thinking errors and with their economic issues or challenges so that they can be self-sufficient.
Okay. So, you've done so much, and that program is just one of them, which is truly, we talk about, working behind the bench, but or from the bench and then out in the community. What has been, because also you've been the administrative judge here, and now you're the presiding judge here, and so you've had all this influence and work with community, but you've done so much. But what's that most unforgettable moment, in a sense, that you recall, like during your entire career? What is that thing? If there's just one, but what is that? What is that?
That one moment in my entire career that's kind of stood out one way or the other. I don't know that there's any one. But, what stands out for me the most are the sort of success stories. I've had folks that I've sent to prison that have stopped me on the street, that have walked back into my courtroom to let me know what was going on with their lives, and thanking me, actually, that, at that time, that's what they needed, even though they didn't think they needed that. But at that time, that was exactly what they needed in their lives. And that's what has surprised me about this job, is that some folks want to come back to let the judge see, hey, I've turned my life around. I'm no longer out there on the streets. I'm no longer out there committing crimes. And that's happened to me on multiple occasions, where someone has walked up to me and said, hey, you were my judge. You sent me to prison, or you sent me to this program, and I just want to let you know that I'm doing fine now.
So early on, I asked you that question about what motivates you. I would think that hearing that from someone that was before you, says, okay, I'm making a difference. This person is doing well. Oh yeah, and keep doing.
Well, I've told persons before. I said, look, what I'd love to see you walk in the front door of my courtroom. And say, hey, Judge, it's so-and-so, and I just want to let you know that I'm doing fine.
Great. So we'll wrap it up here with this last two questions, in a sense. What words of inspiration would you give to those that have either come before you or that might come before you? And then secondly, what knowledge can you give to those who are thinking about becoming a lawyer, thinking about, if they are a lawyer, thinking about taking that next step to become a judge? What would you say?
Well, for those that would come before me, folks that may have cases, what I'd like to tell people, particularly when I have conversation with young men out in the community, is that you have options. So many of them, because of their situation, circumstances, how they were brought up, see only one path forward, and think that path is one that leads to them ending up in jail or ending up in prison. And I try to just encourage them that there are other options. available to them. Because I would tell folks all the time, my father was in the military. My mother was a homemaker. It's not like I came out of anything special. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I did work hard to be able to succeed. And so if I can, then anyone can. But obviously, you need to have folks around you to encourage you. But you also have to have in your head that I don't have to go down the path that I see of so many other folks in my community, that I have options, that I have something to offer to the community. And so that's the one point that I'd like to make to those that come in front of me, that you don't have to go down the path that you think that you need to go to, that there are other options for you. And then for anyone that wants to be a judge, it's my hope that they see and understand that so much of this job is how we sort of work with the folks that come in front of us, and I mean everyone, from the attorneys, from the public. We represent the criminal justice system. And how we do our jobs, how we present ourselves in many ways is how others see the system. And people already have preconceived ideas about what happens down here every day. And we as judges, I think, have an obligation and a responsibility to do our jobs to the best of our ability, because the decisions that we make impact people's lives. And so one of the things that I always said was that I wanted to be the type of judge that when people walked out of the courtroom, whether they were successful or not, at least they felt like they had their day in court, that they had a judge that was listening to their arguments, taking their arguments seriously, and making the best decision that could be made based upon the information that was provided. And I think if we do that, then people walk out of the courthouse saying, well, I didn't get what I wanted, but I really felt that the system worked for me.
Most important, most important. Well, we'll leave with those words. We appreciate you taking the time once again. The Honorable Judge Stephen L. McIntosh.
Thank you, Napoleon.
All right.
Appreciate it.